and welcome to this special episode of How to Be a Great GM. My name is Guy, and I'm starting off a new series that we promised you in the teaser at the beginning of the week, and that is Conversations with Great GMs. These are GMs from around the world that I think are pretty amazing and think that you will gain some benefit out of hearing, listening to as I talk to them and ask them interrogating questions, specifically on how to spell the word marmalade. But without further ado, let's introduce my very first guest here on Conversations with Great GMs, and that would be the indomitable Mr. Tarrasque. So, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. I appreciate very much that a channel like yours that is doing very well is having a guy like me on your channel. So that's amazing. Thank you.
Oh, absolute pleasure to have you here. And the channel is doing well because of fans. And if my fans can find your amazing content, then they will hopefully head on and support you as well. It's something for you to go and check out. So what exactly is your channel? Take us through. Who are you? Where are you? And why should people watch what you do?
Well, I am Mr. Tarrasque, as you say, but some people have been starting to call me Mr. T. I didn't take that into account when I was creating the channel, but well, people are calling me Mr. T right now. I have a YouTube channel that's a very simple setup, is that I just review modern, classic, and third-party Dungeons & Dragons modules, especially 5th edition modules, also some 3.5 stuff, because it is very easy to use 3.5 stuff in 5th edition. And I actually just review it. I read everything cover to cover, sometimes even twice if I'm really into it. And then I just give my opinion. And the most important part, I actually have one rule on my channel, that's the most important part of my channel, is that I do not ever destroy anybody else's work. Meaning that if I get something in my hands that I absolutely don't like or dislike, I will not feature it on my channel. So if people are looking for a channel that has all kinds of stuff that at least I think is great, then my channel is perfect. Of course, everything you get in your hands, you can have some minor disagreements with, and I will always tell people about that. Sometimes it's the artwork, sometimes it's spelling mistakes or other stuff, or just weird choices they made in the booklet. I will always be honest about that, but I will only feature it if there's at least something I like about it. So that's my channel.
Absolutely fantastic, absolutely wonderful. And the reviews are thorough, and they are, as you say, all very, very well laid out and make sense and that sort of thing. Do you review only authorized published material, or can everybody who's out there writing supplements and things, where do you... Well,
I actually started reviewing because I started my channel with the stuff I had laying around, which was mostly official 5th edition Wizards of the Coast's published material, and I started reviewing that stuff. And very, very, very soon after that, people were already starting to send me digital stuff from the DM's Guild, DrivethruRPG. And a few weeks later, the mailman knocked on my door and people were sending me all kinds of stuff. So I actually review everything for Dungeons & Dragons. So I at least take a look at it if you send it to me. I at least, in the very least, take a look at it. I will look at the cover, I will look at the back, I will look inside, and if it's something that interests me, I will go on with it. I will do the review if I think it's great. That's actually what I do, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have a confession. I had material sent to me, a wonderful little role-playing system, which I will review as soon as it arrives from South Africa to Japan, which is where I've moved to, if you don't know about it. It's called Creepy Pasta, which is a horror role-playing game. The book is so well laid out. When I do the review, you'll see it. But when you open it up, the whole thing is about people going mad. And the writing actually starts to change shape on the pages as you page through it. It starts to lose focus. Some of it's upside down. It's really, really the rule book matches the theme so well. It's very, very nicely done. I
It's,
will do
it's a
a
little
review
bit.
on that one, I promise you. And Rodney, yes, I've also got your stuff that you've sent me that I have to review. So I've got a list of things to do as well. So I know what you mean when you say people do send.
Yeah, I've got like a pile of real books and a map on my computer with digital stuff. It's just more than I can count and more than I can do in a year. So that actually, what you were saying actually reminds me when I was young, I was reading The Never-Ending Story, and it also has it with the colors, and like you're in the second part of the book, and you're like, they're talking about the book I'm holding while I'm reading it, and they're in this book, but also I am not.
Right.
Like in the movie they can do that, but in the book it's like, what am I reading? Am I now in the book or out the book? How does this work?
Absolutely. Lovely. Absolutely. So that kind of gives us an overview of what you and your channel are about. How did you get into role playing, and how long have you been in role playing?
I've been in role playing. I've started with 3.5. I'm now 30 years of age. I know I look good for a guy that's 30 years old. I started 17 odd years ago, 16, 17 years ago. I was immediately, from the first second I started, I was hooked on 3.5. I had this friend in school that played it, and the Lord of the Rings movies were coming out, I guess. It was about that time. And I was like, yeah, dwarves and elves and oh my God. And he actually started explaining to me what Dungeons and Dragons was. And for most people, when you start explaining it, you have to explain like, no, it's really great because you can do this. Oh, okay, it's really great because you can do that. But for me, it was like one sentence. It was like, hey, I play a game where you can play a character in one of those worlds and you can do absolutely whatever you want. And that was for me the moment I got hooked. I was like, okay, I'm in. When are we playing? And from that moment on, we played. He had a party going on already, and I joined, and we played every Wednesday as long as I went to school with him. So from my 13th or 14th to my 19 years old, we played every single Wednesday, almost every single Wednesday, 3.5. So yeah, it was, for me, it was a sudden, just was more like the realization that something like this existed. For me, I didn't even know it existed. So it was, yeah. It's like getting into online computer games within the first years that it was like, so I shoot somebody that's also a person, but he's on the other side of the world. How does that work? That's the same with Dungeons & Dragons. Does this exist? Okay, I want to do this. And yeah, I just sat down and we started playing.
Right.
I didn't even know what a paladin was. I didn't even know what a cleric was. I was like, okay, just let's do this. And
that was it.
Yeah.
That was it. Hook, line, and sinker. Well, I think that's a story that a lot of us can relate to. There you go. I know that you are in Belgium, but you speak Dutch as your home language. Is that right? Just as
yeah. Belgium has actually three major languages. Belgium has Dutch, French, which is almost 50-50, but there's this little part that speaks German.
There we go.
Belgium actually consists of a part of the Netherlands, a part of France, and a part of Germany. We just stole 3 parts and we just made a new country. That's what we did.
Well, there we go. And the reason why I was speaking about that was because my first role-playing experience was with a family who were from the Netherlands, who were Dutch. So that's the interesting link there. But it wasn't in 2001 when I started. It was significantly earlier than that. So yes. So what is your perspective now on role-playing? Because listening to what you say, where you say you've now got piles of books, you've got tons of files that are being sent to you digitally. When you think back to 2001 or so, when you were starting to get into it, what is your perspective on role-playing now as it stands today?
Well, I see a lot of stuff coming my way. I see a lot of YouTube channels. I see a lot of people talking about, like yourself, talking about how to be a great dungeon master. And for me, it has always been just freaking sit down and play the freaking game. And that's actually, if I go to Facebook, the 5th edition page, where there's like 118,000 people, if you post something like, people can post the weirdest questions, and I'm like, I don't know, ask your dungeon master, because that's the game. And I think it has evolved into something people don't really anymore understand how it's, and that's why people like you are amazing, because you help them understand what it actually basically is, what your job as a dungeon master or a player is. And I think that's mainly a reason because a lot of new players are starting out with this game, and a lot of new groups start out, while in the past it were more, you joined a group that already played, so you just took their playing style and you went with it. For me, it was just, okay, he's a dungeon master, right? Yeah, he's always right. Yes, whatever he says is law. It's just what it is. Okay, cool. And I just went with it. But right now, what I feel is that a lot of new players and dungeon masters don't really get that. They don't really get that. Okay, the dungeon master said this, and I don't think it's honest. I don't think it's honest that the dungeon master told me to do, that this happened. Okay, but he's the dungeon master, so it is honest.
Right.
So the big difference I see is just the content. It's just, when I was playing, there was 3.5 books, which I'm using as a mouse mat right now. There were just these books. There were some third-party books, like Book of Vile Darkness, for example, very famous one. But that was it. But right now, I mean, it's just, it doesn't stop. I mean, you have these big companies like Kobold Press, 2C Gaming. You have like these bigger companies already making a full-time living out of creating stuff for a game that has been created by another company. So that's just weird if you really look at it. And then there's smaller publishers like Dungeon Masters Guild. These are people making money, sometimes full-time, sometimes part-time, sometimes just a little bit, but they're making money and providing. And I think there's sometimes a little too much of it. I think if you go to the Dungeon Masters Guild, I see how people don't know what to buy. You know, I'm like, okay, I can see this. If you're a new player and you want some extra material and you go to Dungeon Masters Guild or DrivethruRPG, how in heaven's name do you know what to buy? But that's where channels like ours come in. So
that's it. So it's an interesting position that you paint. And it leads me quite nicely, actually. This isn't scripted, but it leads me quite nicely into my next question for you. And I think I wish we had more time to explore more of what you're saying here. And this is now out to you, viewers. If you want these things to be longer and more in depth, possibly 2 episodes or so, let me know downstairs. Just leave your comments so that you can guide me here on this very first episode as to where we should be going. Because ultimately, yes, it is content for you guys. And as we are trying to help you to enjoy your game more, feedback is always useful. Now, he's mentioned also the DM's Guild publishing stuff. Now, there's something that both Mr. T and I are involved with. And we're going to talk about that at the end of the show. So stick around for that, because that's quite an exciting little thing that's going to be happening fairly soon, actually. But anyway, stick around. Okay, so now back to the questions. The people don't know what they need to do. People are confused as to roles because it's groups, as you say, that are reforming.
And I think also the Dungeon Master's Guide used to explain it better in the past. The older versions used to, if you open up, I'm sorry, I'm going to talk about this. If you open up the 4th edition Dungeon Master's Guide, the part about your role as a Dungeon Master is actually better than the 5th edition Dungeon Master's Guide, I think. I mean, like the role, not the world building stuff. I mean, like, who are you as a Dungeon Master? What you should be doing? It's actually better in the 4th edition book, and even better in the 3rd edition book, to my opinion.
So I'm gonna ask you now to unpack that, because that's my question: is what do you think makes a good dungeon master, game master. Now you're talking about these chapters. I remember reading the second edition rule book on dungeon masters, and the only sentence I ever took away was, "You are always right." I just adopted that as my lifelong sentence and never carried on reading, because, well, if I'm always right, I don't need the book. So what makes a good GMDM? Or what is the content of those books that makes it so much better?
I think for me, as personally, I think what makes me a decent GM or DM is improvisation. I think that's one of the biggest aspects, and some people don't like to hear that. I know some people like to over-prepare, but I'm like, I always prepare my games. Of course, I have my own homebrew, like most people have their own homebrew that I just play in. But I think improvisation, and I don't mean like improvisation from my side only, but I think the first rule of improvisation, if you ever looked into it, is taking something somebody says and answering yes to it and going with it. Like, for example, if we're improvising and you say, "I hand you over a beer," I cannot answer with, "Okay, I take the glass of wine." that doesn't work. I answer with, "Okay, I take the beer and then I pour it on the street because I don't like beer." So that's improvisation from both sides. And I think as a dungeon master, you should channel that with your players. You should actually invite your players to come up with stuff, and then you go with that. Doesn't mean you always have to answer yes to everything they want. But I think that's the biggest part for at least to make a story flowing. I mean, you need preparation to have your basic skeleton of the story. You need that, but to keep it flowing, you really need improvisation. I think that's the major part of a and don't be afraid to improvise. I think that's very important. A lot of people are afraid to improvise. I mean, I sometimes have encounters totally written out, and at the end of the encounter didn't even come close to what I've put on the paper. So that happens a lot.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so then what makes a bad dungeon master? Does it necessarily follow someone who doesn't improvise, or is there something else that you think makes a bad dungeon master?
I have not ever actually up until now encountered a bad dungeon master, so it's for me very hard to say. I've been lucky enough I've played with now only, I think, 4 dungeon masters in total, and they all had a very different style.
Right, he is in Belgium, so there's not a lot of people in that country anyway.
There's enough people. There's enough people here. No, also I play online and stuff, but I think what the problem is I had one type of dungeon master I liked the least. While he was a good dungeon master for years, and then suddenly he started using these pre-written books, but not like these small adventure booklets, but the big books like Out of the Abyss and stuff like that. And he was really trying to follow the book exactly like in the book. And then I said, for example, I said something like, "Yeah, I go into the second door from the right," and he was like, "Okay, this is what happens." And for me, that just breaks it. That's why I haven't yet been reviewing those bigger adventures. I've been reviewing smaller adventures because you can put them in your world and you can adjust them and you can make them work for your world. But these big adventures like Out of the Abyss and what is it, Tomb of Annihilation, and I'm not a big fan of those. Not because they're bad. No, because a lot of people don't realize you don't need to use every word that's in that book.
That's it. Fans of my channel will know I did the Ravenloft book thing for a friend of mine for his birthday. And yes, it was very difficult for me to stay within the material that they had provided. It was excellent material, but
yes, that's
can't accommodate for players going off in different directions. So, yes, if you don't have that flexibility, that improvisational skill, as you said.
And there is actually, I have this book. It's called the Total Party Kill Handbook from 2C Gaming. It's very cool, very cool.
I watched your review. Yes,
I did a review on it. You have to, and on the back is like one sentence, and it says, once you pick up the book, it becomes yours. No, sorry. The game is yours. The book only provides the numbers. Something in that sense. Right. It says on the back, the game is yours. The book only provides the numbers. That's actually the way of saying, like, this is a book. Use what you want of it, but you don't have to use everything of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. So then what do you think makes a good player?
Improvisation. No, yeah. A good player is one player. I've encountered some bad players. So a good player is the one that actually realizes rule number 0, which is the dungeon master is always right, and actually enjoys that fact of the game. Me as a player, the biggest thing I enjoy the biggest of the game is that the dungeon master is always right. You never know what he's going to say. He or she is going to say. So you say, I do this, and you don't know what's going to happen, which makes the world completely random. Mm-hmm. Because one day he might be having a bad day, and he does something completely different than the other day.
Right.
So, I think a good player is a player, and a good player, of course, is also a player that doesn't draw attention to him or herself continuously. So, don't steal the thunder from other people all the time. I mean, also that's what makes a good dungeon master, is one that gives everybody their moments.
That's it. Absolutely right. And I think there's I'm going to punt this here because, well, it's my channel, damn it. So if you watch next week, I'm trying to think when this show's dropping tomorrow. So next week, Monday, in Bacon RPG, the YouTube channel Bacon RPG, where my weekly show plays out, the guys, 4 players, all 4 of them split up in 4 completely different directions, all doing 4 completely different things. My challenge there was to try and balance the amount of time that each one of them got. And I'm very pleased to say at the end of the session, everyone felt that they got enough of that screen time. And all of those players were courteous enough to give their fellow members time to do what they needed to do. And it's a very powerful episode. We've got 2 players committing their souls, one to the Dark Lord, one to the Lord of Light. It's a very complicated episode, but it's a good example of what you're talking about. Sorry, so that's why I kind of had to throw it in there. And then what makes a bad player? Is it a rules lawyer? Are you anti-rules lawyer people? Are you not?
I'm not per se anti-rules lawyers, because I think I actually split up players into 2 different segments. Only two. And that's, I heard that on a channel somewhere, and I actually use it now, and that is players and audience members. And both don't have to be bad. I mean, you have players, and you have those guys. I have one guy sitting at my table. He always plays a fighter, just like me, but he sits at my table like this. And then when it comes his turn, he's like, my turn? Okay, I walk up to the dragon. I hit it in the face. No, I missed it. Okay, I'm good. And he has fun doing it because he's been showing up for 2 years. So he just comes, he just drinks his beer, does his thing, and he has fun doing that. But I have 2 rules lawyers on my table, on one of my real life tables, and one of them was a bad player, but I've talked to him, and now he's one of the most amazing players I am playing with, because he was new. He was always following the rules. He was the new guy. He started off with Dungeons & Dragons. But there's like one rules lawyer, and he just knows all the rules. Because we misunderstand the term rules lawyer, I think. Because a lawyer is not a person that follows the rules. A lawyer is a person that knows knows all the rules and knows how to dodge them. That's a lawyer. Right. That's a lawyer. A lawyer. Otherwise, you're just a judge if you follow the rules. technically speaking. So I think I had on the right, I had this rules lawyer, just a guy knowing all the rules, and was like, sorry, I think you're making a mistake. I think it's like this. And I say, oh, is it like that? Yeah, it's like that. And I'm like, okay, I will go with that, or I won't. And when I say I won't, he's okay, no problem. I just knew it was like this, but no problem. You're the dungeon master. And then on the other hand, you had this guy, no, it's like this, and I'm not taking 10 damage. I'm only taking 9.99 points of damage because I have 1,000 of a resistance because this they always and not letting it go. Yeah. That's what makes a bad player. Not letting stuff go. That's for me what makes a bad player. I don't mind people telling me the rules because the rules are hard to remember, and I like having people at my table that actually know the rules. It's the biggest luxury you can have as a dungeon master. Somebody sitting at your right that knows all the books by heart. I mean, that's the best thing you can have.
Absolutely.
So a bad player for me is something that is not able to let go. But if you're seeing this, Kevin, I'm talking about you. Yes, I'm talking about you. At first, but it was because he was new. At first, he was like, it wasn't fun at first. But after a while, I talked to him, and now he's one of the greatest players to play with because now he gets the game.
That's magic. That's magic. So then, talking about that, what's one of your favorite RPG memories? Just give us an overview of your favorite RPG memory, or one of something that I've been
playing for 17 years, man. I don't know my favorite memory. Well, first of all, I have to say my first day I played.
Right.
I remember that vividly. I played a character called Aladdin the Paladin. So I didn't know what a paladin was, and they were like, here's a paladin. What's a paladin? Yeah, it's like a fighter and a cleric, but in between. Like, okay, so he can heal and he follows. Okay, I don't know, play that one. Okay, what's your name? My name is Henrik. No, your character name. Character name? Yeah, it's your character. Oh. And I was looking in the book for a character name. Is my character name in the book? No, your character name. I was like, okay, I'm a paladin. Okay, Aladdin. And yeah, they just went with it, and I just played Aladdin the Paladin. I don't know. Yeah, there is this one moment. I've been playing with a small group called Fumbles and Fame, which is a very small streaming on Twitch. Very fun people. I played a dwarven fighter, like always, and I remember this. We were playing Tomb of Annihilation. We were playing Tomb of Annihilation, and I remember this dungeon master told us to introduce our characters, but he did it in a way. I don't know if it's in the book. Maybe it's in the book. He did it in a way that we all, in the morning, in an inn after sleeping, we all came down the stairs, one after the other. So everybody was describing their character coming from the staircase from an inn, and I immediately sent a private message to the dungeon master like, make me go last, because I was thinking of this, make me go last. He never answered that, but I think he read it because I went last. And everybody was like, yeah, I play. So this paladin comes down the stairs, and she's wearing this robe, and she has her armor like this. And then this cleric comes down the stairs, and then there's this barbarian muscle man that thinks everything is beautiful until he rages, and then he just bashes everything. And they were all introducing their character like epically, and then I came like on top of the stairs like this, like in my boxer shorts, my character called Mr. T, because I didn't have my YouTube channel yet. So my character was Mr. Tarrasque, and I just wearing nothing but my boxers, and my groin part of my character was looking very, very big, and it was making a lot of noise because I was wearing my coin sack right there. I remember those guys just hitting the floor of laughter because my character just in the morning before he puts on his armor, because armor is armor. Before he puts his armor, he goes down in his boxer shorts and eats a bowl of cereals. That's what he does. That's Mr. T. That's what he does. So I do this, and there's a lot of laughter. And now becomes actually the best part of it. We we actually forgot about it for I think 2 sessions. Wasn't really anything, but my character didn't know how to use money. He didn't know what money was worth, so he was always giving away way too much gold pieces to everybody. And then one of the players, a female wizard or sorcerer, played by a girl, also, she took away my coin sack, right? And so she had my coin sack and like walking around with my coin sack, and I just waited for the perfect moment. I was middle of combat, and I was thanking it out and was fighting, was doing my thing, and then middle of combat I said, "Hey, smell my coin sack." At that point, everybody realized where my coin sack had been in a few sessions before, and that's the kind of thing I actually. She immediately dropped it, and I had my coin sack back. So I don't know why I use this as example, but it's just I think humor is very important in a game like Dungeons and Dragons.
Absolutely. I try and play serious campaigns where it's all sort of Game of Thrones and everything is dead on. 5 seconds and everything has gone to shambles and it's Monty Python everywhere. So I think it's just the nature.
Well, I think there's also always a place for drama, right?
Oh yes.
There's character deaths. I mean, the best movies we see have drama. For example, Star Wars, they have humor, they have drama, and then the last one has Disney. So
we're not going to go there. This is not that kind of show.
Sorry, more toys. I actually like it. So.
There we go. What do you think as we draw this to a close? But don't leave yet, because we've got that special announcement coming up of what we are working on together in the next few weeks, actually. So final question is, what do you think is the future of role-playing? We've seen the rise of things like Roll20, Fantasy Grounds, all that kind of stuff. VR is now becoming mainstay. Tabletop, is it going to be around in the next 20 years?
I think just like the 80s, everything is going to come back. I mean, people now are wearing clothes from the 80s again, suddenly. So
this is in Belgium, of course, and we're still trying to
a lot of
figure
places.
out.
I've seen this in a lot of places. Suddenly, these kinds of things just come back, and I think sitting down with your friends and playing Dungeons and Dragons is the future of role playing. I mean, sitting down, opening a book or a virtual book, who cares, and playing is the future of. And I think a lot of people, because we are right now at a point that a lot of people are joining in because of pop culture. And if the pop culture, what it is doing right now, for example, playing Dungeons and Dragons in series like Community, The Big Bang Theory, Stranger Things, very big part. And like the movie that's coming out, Ready Player One, the 29th of March. I've read the book, and there's a lot of Dungeons and Dragons in that book. So if they
said in the film, anyway, yeah.
Sorry, what?
I was going to say, it's interesting if Steven Spielberg keeps it in the film, but who knows?
Yeah, me too. So there's a lot of RPG going on in pop culture right now. So that's why I think a lot of players will join in. But essentially, it is an RPG. It's like I've played Pathfinder with you this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
This past weekend, and I said, people ask me, what did you think of Pathfinder? For me, it's just, okay, it's an RPG. It's great because it is an RPG. We just sit down and we play a freaking game, and the rules are just the rules. So sit down, have fun, eat some Cheetos, drink a beer, laugh your ass off.
Doesn't get much better than that.
That's for me. That's actually the future of RPG, and maybe for some people that's the great thing. That's Roll20, Fantasy Grounds, other stuff where it just makes it possible for people to play with each other all around the world. But that's the same thing with video games. Sitting down and playing video games is still the way to play video games. We can now play video games with each other across the world, which we couldn't in the 80s. But essentially, we're still sitting down with our friends playing video games.
Absolutely.
So that's the future, I think.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a good positive one, because I happen to prefer sitting around the table to online, although online has been growing on me, and everybody knows my views from this channel. I did a video where I hated online, and then all my fans wrote in and said, "You're an idiot, try it again," and I did, and well, now I absolutely enjoy it. So there we go.
It all depends on who you play with.
Absolutely, without a doubt. Without a doubt, it is the people that make the game. Absolutely. The rules, as you say, are great, and we need them, but it's the people. All right, so now everybody who has stayed until this point, the two of us are involved in a very interesting project, and I must admit, how did you get involved in this project?
I absolutely have no idea anymore.
Did Glenn get hold of you directly?
Yeah, we are in this Facebook group with content creators. And he is in there, and he posted something of it, and I was just like, hey, if you ever want to send it over for me to take a look at it for my channel. And that's, I think, how we got talking about it. And well, he showed me some of the artwork, and people who are on my channel know that I am absolutely, he hit me right in the feels with that. I mean, old school artwork for me is the way to go. If you give me a drawing of a fighter, like a drawing like this of a fighter, I will fall in love with it. I mean, so and this book has like this thing we're talking about has like very cool old school vibe going on, really weird stuff going on, and I love that kind of stuff. So we got to talk about it. So yeah.
Lovely. I'm not part of that, or if I am, I didn't see any. I have so much stuff going on, but I got pulled in through the creator. He got hold of me and he said, "Hey, do you want to be part of this whole process?" And very graciously allowed me to actually contribute in my own small way to the product. So yes, so you are now going to be revealing this mystery product. Is that right? You're going to be launching it next, the 24th. Is that right?
I think it's the 29th. Can I?
29th. All right. Now that's absolutely fine. So if you want to know what we're talking about and what we are talking about, we have actually been speaking indirectly about it throughout most of this video. It is a book. All right. It's a book. That much we can say. But beyond that, if you want to know more, you're going to have to go and watch Mr. Tarrasque's review, where you're actually meeting with one of the
I have a live chat going on. I think it's the 30th or the 31st. A live chat going on with some of the creators of this book. And yes, there are more creators of this book. And that's the thing about this book, is what makes it amazing. And I think I can already say what it's going to be in a way, because we've already been talking about that on Twitter. It is actually a bunch of, I don't know how many, but a bunch of the best and best-selling writers for the Dungeon Masters Guild that are coming together and creating a monsters book called Monsters of the Guild. There are a lot of monsters in there that already existed across all kinds of other content, but also some very cool and weird new stuff. I have had the honor to take a look at it, and it is great. And the thing we are doing, and it is very important that I say this, the thing that we are doing on this live stream is you can actually get your hands on a early copy. It's not the entire book, but I think it's 20 pages of the book, a special edition early smaller copy of the book, by donating to charity during that live stream. So if you donate whatever you want, you can donate like $1 or $1,000. You'll get a copy of the early version of the book, the charity version of the book.
Correct. And it's got its own cover. It's a different cover to the one that the actual book ships with. And that's Doctors Without Borders, the charity that they're supporting, which I think is a very good one. And I know that the authors are actually doing something specifically to include Doctors Without Borders as a theme for some of the extra content that's going to be in that book. So that's going to be absolutely fantastic. And what a wonderful way to use your hobby and to support stuff at the same time. So, I will keep you posted on this channel anyway as to when your live stream is going to come out. I'm sure it'll be all over Facebook as well, and on Twitter, of course. That you're very big on that. And all of your links are in the box thing below for you guys to go and find Mr. Tarrasque's channel as well as his Twitter stream, and go and watch his Twitch. Are you still on Twitch doing the show?
No, I'm not anymore. I needed to back out of that, not because I didn't like it, because I was having a lot of fun, but just timing.
Absolutely.
I mean, just timing. So there were Americans in there. There was a German girl in there. There was me, and then there was a British guy, I think. It was really hard, and we were doing it every Sunday night, every other Sunday night, and I just wasn't able anymore.
Current group, Bacon Battalion, which I have now referenced twice, so I'm not sure whether that gets me a brownie point or a cookie. I'm hoping for the latter. But one of my players is American, and he's on the further side of America from where I am. So he joins us every Sunday at 3 a.m. his time. And then plays until about 5 a.m., which I think is real dedication to the show, but also to role playing in general. And I mean, I think we all have done some pretty crazy stuff in the name.
Oh yeah.
Just one more roll. Just one more roll. Anyway, so Mr. Tarrasque, thank you so much for being on the show with us. I hope that you at home have enjoyed it as much as I have, getting insight into your world and your thoughts on improvisation and participation and all those sort of wonderful things. So thank you so very much for being on the show.
No, thank you for having me. I really, 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 honestly, really appreciate it. Thanks.
Absolutely. So remember, we will keep you posted about that live stream that's coming up, and of course this wonderful, wonderful book that's going to come out very, very soon, end of the month, and then the month thereafter the official book launches. Links are already live on the DM's Guild page and all that kind of stuff, so watch out for that. Until next time, leave your comments below on what you thought about this very first episode. Maybe a little bit rough around the edges. Wow, that's just me, you know how it is. It's all just one long live recording.
Tarrasques are rough around the edges.
There you go.
Tarrasques too. Just
absolutely. So leave your comments below on what you thought. If you liked it, hit the like button. Of course, if you want to see more of these, hit that subscribe button. Head on over to Mr. Tarrasque's channel as well and join him there. He really does some fantastic stuff. So until next time, I wish you and yours the happiest of gaming.